Rory! Morning, y'all. Let's talk Rory McIlroy, shall we? What a performance, what a player, and what a year so far. Lots of talk over the weekend about strokes gained, some really good chats and some interesting ones, just watching how people interpret this stat that I think could help so many golfers. We're going to talk here with Dan as well today. We'll talk to him about it because he's already told us that he doesn't quite understand it, so we're going to hopefully share a bit with him as well, which kind of, I think, puts in towards some of his aggressive and protective thinking around his golf. So it'd be interesting to see if he's had time to look at it and if it's changed his feelings towards it or not. Now we're going to do a couple of things. I've not done everything, I've not researched this totally, I've researched a bit. There's a little footnote at the end of this video which I think is really interesting when it comes to Rory's stats. We're going to look at where his strengths are, where his weaknesses are, and I'm sure in that comment section down below, post comments, where's his strengths, where's his weakness. I'm sure you know where they are down there. I don't think it's pretty common knowledge, but just how strong and how weak are they? And the bit that I've not researched, I'm interested to find out, is how good are his strengths compared to, say, Tiger when he was at his strength, to see if we can find any of that information as well. It's going to be a fun day. Right, let's start by taking a look at Rory's strokes gained from the Players' Championship after a fantastic victory last night. I think the whole golfing world was so happy to see Rory come through and win that, being as good as we know he is. Now, just a quick thing with strokes gained, give you an idea. So strokes gained, for those of you who don't know, basic principle of strokes gained is how much you're gaining on the field at each aspect of your game. So off the tee, accuracy, putting, approach play, so on and so forth. So how much you're winning or losing against what the average of the field is doing. So if we look at Rory's from the week, it's impressive reading. So his driving accuracy, let's start with that one. 71%, 78% round 1 and 2. Round 3, 28%. So round 3 his driving went off and then finished at 57%. So his total was 58% that got him an accuracy reading of tied 49th. He was not the most accurate by a long way on that course. But if we look at strokes gained off the tee, he was 1.72. He lost on round 3 when he had his bad driving day, and then he was 1.7 on the last round, gaining, giving him an average of 5 gain over the 4 rounds and giving him a rank of 2nd. So he's not the most accurate, but he is gaining on the field off the tee nearly every round. Even one where he falls back, he's gaining so much on the others, it ranks him at number 2. Distance-wise off the tee, 296, 299, 313, 310 average, and then he was ranked number 5th. He's 2nd off the tee, strokes gained. He's 5th in distance. Tee to green, he was number 1. So if you put approach play in there, he was number 6th, gaining over the 4 rounds a total of 6 shots. But if you put him tee to green, he was ranked number 1, gaining 4 shots, 5 shots, nearly 1 shot on the day. He's still gaining tee to green when he had a horrendous driving day, and then 2.7, ranking him at number 1 tee to green, gaining almost 13 shots on the field. I mean, that's just massive numbers. And here's always the interesting one, his putting, the bit we all talk about. 0.4 day 1 gain, 1.2 day 2, round 3 0.5, and the last round he lost 1.5 against the field strokes gained putting, giving him an average of 0.6. He is not putting anyone off the park, and he's got a rank of 45. So his long game is far outweighing the issues that he has with his short game. It still allows him to have the season that he's had. I think he started 7 times this year and he's not been out of the top 10 with a win. What he is doing tee to green is arguably as good as anyone, and maybe as good as anyone who's lived. I've never looked at Tiger's stats, so we're going to have to try and have a look at if there's stats for Tiger. I don't know if there is stats actually for when he was playing at his height, but we'll have a look. If not, it'll be interesting to comment below. I mean, tee to green, I can't see many being as good as Rory. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm getting bouncing back.
Lingering on, isn't it?
Oh, I still feel now jet lagged.
Yeah, well I still am. I'm only just starting to get back into my sleeping pattern.
But I'll get there by the end of the day.
So Rory, can he win the Masters is kind of the idea today, and I've brought up some stats because we're going to look at strokes gained, because we had a good old chat just a minute ago about strokes gained.
We had a little
what are you feeling about strokes gained?
101 in strokes gained we had there.
At the minute.
I'm learning with it. I think it's from what I saw from yesterday's performance from Rory, looking at the strokes gains, it doesn't surprise me seeing the numbers that I've seen. Yeah. Even though I don't get strokes gained as much as, let's say, you do. Yeah. So, no, I think it's been a good lesson.
What about his accuracy number though? You say you weren't surprised with his numbers. Surely that accuracy number is slightly surprising. If we have a look at it.
Well.
So he's 134 for this season, bearing in mind that's 7 starts and he's won once and hasn't been out of the top 10. Yeah. And he's 134 for accuracy. I mean, that's like rubbish, isn't it?
Well, on paper you would say that's not very good. Yeah. But
where's he gaining?
Well, he's gaining because it's what he's doing. Is what he's doing from that, isn't it? Greens. Look at his greens in regulation, but then obviously look at how far down he is. Yeah. So he's distance there at 312 average. You're putting him at 5th. Yeah. Then he jumps to 134th in his accuracy,
which is way lower.
But look at what he's achieving from missing all these fairways. Let's say.
Yeah, he's not afraid to still hit the green, is he?
He's still hitting. He's still 16th. He's still hitting 72% of his greens from not hitting fairways.
Well, hitting 60%, just under. Yeah. And then look at his shot off the tee. He's gaining 1.3, but he's 134th in accuracy. So what would this mean to your average golfer? Because we had a lot of conversations on my Twitter over the weekend about 300-yard drives or free putts, and definitely there's still a mixed feeling on this. What do you think that means for you or someone you're teaching on trying to get them to lower their scores? Like if someone comes to you and says they're having too many free putts, what would be your initial thought? Well, if you go before this conversation, what would be your initial thought for teaching them?
I think you'd have to look a little bit deeper as to if they're having too many 3 putts, where are they ending up on the green from where? How far away from the hole are they ending up is certainly the first question I'd be looking at.
Would you have done that though before this conversation, or would you just have pulled the Sam out and got straight into the putting stroke?
No, I definitely would like to get more detail. I think I would be asking those questions before Sam even came out. Yeah. But then I wouldn't. This has then opened up a different door for me, because I think looking at what I'm seeing here now, I think it's so important to get those players to that drop-off point that we talked about earlier.
What do you mean?
What I mean by that is that there's going to be a stage where a player like I would always hit back into the fattest part of the golf course. I've always played that way. Yeah. Whether I was taught that way growing up, I don't know, but I would always hit to that fat part, which gave me then the biggest percentage of hitting the fairway. Yeah. To then set myself up to hit the green. Looking at this now, it's about going as far as you can in that pinch point of the fairway. Let's say it's a bunker, or it might be a hazard, or it might be trees, or whatever it is that you're trying to hit to. But get as far down as you possibly can with whatever club that is, to put yourself into position to then go in there with as low an iron you can, or lower shot going into the green, should we say?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, for me, certainly as a younger coach, I would have just gone, let's look at your putting. Yeah. And you can make gains putting, don't not practice your putting, but your chances of not free putting from 40 foot away, you're going to free putt if you're hitting it 40 foot away all the time, because you're leaving yourself so much in. And I think the bit as well where lots of people maybe are getting confused. So I'm not saying, or we're not saying, and Rory isn't saying with his stats, even though he does, it's not about hitting driver everywhere, because like you said there, sometimes the gain, if you look at the gains on stroke gains, it's 0.2, 0.4, 1.3, are not high enough compared to the gamble that you're taking. So the drop-off, as you called it. Yeah. So if I'm hitting 10 drivers in a round, but only keeping 1 in bounds and 9 of them are out of bounds, no one's saying hit your driver every hole. because why hit 9 out of bounds?
Yeah.
But don't maybe run away to a hybrid when a 3-wood, which is going to give you possibly 20 yards more, which will then decrease your proximity to the hole, so put you closer on approaches, which then gives you more chance of decreasing your free putts. Sometimes I think people are just thinking, oh, I can't hit 300 yards like Rory, so like this, what's the point? Like, no, you've got to, like you said, you've got to go as far down as you can to give you the smallest amount in. And it's very interesting on the stats, because you can be a certain amount closer to the hole but in the rough, and it actually works out the same percentage as, say, 30 or 40 yards back in the fairway on how much you get down in X amount, like in 3 shots or 3.8 shots, I think it is.
Yeah.
So think about that. If you've got 180 yards in and you take 3 shots to get down on average from 180 yards, and then you've got 140 yards, and from the rough you get down in the same amount as you do from the fairway at 100 and whatever I said, 180.
Yeah.
You would hit it 140 every time, because the odd one that doesn't hit the rough, you're just going to win, and the ones that you do hit the rough, you can't lose.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I say, I think this explanation that you've put through to me today, I think has certainly opened up my eyes a little bit more, certainly with my own game.
100%. I think you've got so much more to give, because I think often your ideas of being, well, actually, I mean, as we showed you there, your ideas of being, what do we call it, less aggressive,
yeah,
safer, actually increase your percentage of a free putt and a bogey. If we go off PGA Tour stats, and I would go off PGA Tour stats for someone like you, you know, you're not going to be as high as them, but I think you're going to follow the same trend, or we all would.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But certainly don't get confused by thinking, all right, you know, there's a out of bounds on the right, out of bounds on the left, just whack your driver every time. No one's saying that, but rather than hit a 9 iron off the tee, why not hit a 5 iron off the tee if that's got 90% chance of hitting the fairway, but the 9 iron's 100%,
yeah,
well, you'll win that back on the other side of strokes gained by having less in.
yeah.
And these boys and girls are proving that, both tours are, all day long. Rory has proven that this year, like, amazingly. Yeah. A question for you then, I've not done the stats yet, so I don't know the answer to this. Rory's tee to green game is impressive, isn't it? I think he was like 13 shots gaining on approach play or tee to green at the players over the tournament, like massive numbers. Do you think Tiger at his prime, to say Rory at his prime, that Rory's tee to green game was as good, and then maybe it's just his putting letting him down? I don't know. What would your guess be?
Is that I still think that I'm going to take let's say the 2000 and 2001 when
I'm going to go 2000. The one where he won all 3 was that?
2000.
I think it was 2000.
And then it blended into 2001 maybe, but
yeah.
He I would still think that Tiger would have it on him.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
But I don't think...
It's hard to imagine, though, that someone could be hitting it.
Yeah.
How good if he is? Well, look at the stats. That's impressive.
I mean, I don't think that possibly Tiger was maybe as long as Rory off the tee. That's a big shout, isn't it?
Well, I get you. We'll have a look. So let's have a look at Tiger and Rory in their prime. So I've got Tiger 2000 stats and Rory 2014, I think it was. I hope I've got that right. Now, strokes gained, unfortunately, is not as easy because I can't find Tiger's strokes gained. But we can have a look at some interesting numbers here, and you can think about what we've talked about strokes gained and how these numbers would severely help those numbers. So we've got Tiger on the left here. So his driving distance 298 to Rory's 310. So as Dan said, Rory definitely longer. But why? Why is he longer? I don't know the answer. Couple of guesses. Courses have changed from 2000 to 2014. 14 years difference in them Tiger-proofing courses, possibly. Second thing as well, what driver was Tiger using in 2000? Was he still that small-headed one? I can't remember. Post comments down below, let me know. The tech in drivers over those 14 years definitely could play its part. And the ball, when did the ball change? But I think the ball's already changed at that point. So the distance there definitely is in Rory's favour. How much of that is actually controlled by the player? As in, if you look at Rory's third in distance, where Tiger was a second in his era for distance for those years. So Tiger is the second longest player playing on that tour, which is where the real advantage in strokes gained over the field is going to lie. Now look at this one. Driving accuracy for Tiger, 71%, and he's second longest. Wow, wow, and double wow. Where if you look at driving accuracy for Rory, 108th, with only 59%. And this is his best year. 2 majors in this year. So that shows you again how amazing tee to green Tiger was, and Rory is fantastic. Just unbelievable numbers for accuracy and distance coming from Tiger there. Greens in regulation, then 75% from Tiger. Greens in regulation, so that ranks him as number 1. And then 69% for McIlroy, making him 6th. Again, Tiger edging forwards in all those aspects, which is really interesting. Amount of eagles per hole. So every 72 holes, Tiger has an eagle. Where Rory, he is getting an eagle. I've just gone over it here, but it's 128 holes, making him 13th to Tiger's 1st. Tiger's long game, just super, super powerful. Now, before we go into the next stats, is putting. Down there in that comment section, who at their height better putter, Tiger or Rory? Down there right now, let's hear you. Come on, let's see who's got the better putter. Was it Rory or Tiger? Thank you. And you, Peter. Well done. Thanks, Pete. So again, we haven't got strokes gained putting, which is a shame. We have a bit for Rory, but not for Tiger, so we can't compare, or I can't. Let's have a look at some putting stats. Putting overall, also putting average. So greens in regulation, 1.717 Tiger. Putting average, greens in regulation, Rory, 17.08. Making slight gains when they hit a green with his putting. Rory over Tiger. What's interesting, overall putting average, so I presume this means putting from off the green, 1.514 to 1.589 for McIlroy. So McIlroy is just giving it straight back as an overall. So gains slightly when it's greens in regulation, but then loses as soon as he incorporate when they're obviously putting, I presume, from off the green. Putts per round, very similar, 28.76, 28.59. Rory having slightly less putts per round in this year. And you see that in the one putt percentage, 41 for Rory, 39 for Tiger. Rory is putting brilliantly in 2014. If he can bring this putting game to this year, Rory winning the Masters, absolutely, all day long, it's a shout. For me, Rory and Tiger, if they were doing what we wanted to do, to compete at the same time, at their best, that's what every sport wants and kind of craze, isn't it? I'm going to put my money on Tiger. That supremacy of distance plus then accuracy, which is the killer of all of it, like that's the golden goose, the golden egg, that's what you want, is just going to keep winning time and time again unless Rory can do something extra crazy to get those shots back with his putting. Fun little experiment there. Post comments down below, let me know what you think of that. Who would you go for or not on those two? But for me, it shows you the quality of Tiger's long game when he was at his height, wasn't it? And then arguably as well, and I don't know how true this is, but Tiger at that point was moving the game into the position it is now. Rory's playing against Ram, DJ, Justin Thomas. You know, players who have the distance that he has, but also have the other elements as well. And you can never get generation to compare with generation, but certainly when you've got a player who moves it on like Tiger did, it's then hard to compare him against where it is now, where everyone's trying to do the Tiger game. It's interesting, isn't it? Tiger was bloody good, wasn't he? So Rory for the Masters, yes or no? Post in that comment section down below. I'm absolutely, if you can keep this form up, could see him winning the Masters, but that putter has to work because there's going to be lots of other people making those gains in a major tee to green that he's making there. He has that advantage, but there's a small percentage of players that can keep up with him as well, which then brings it down to actually putting, those kind of things. Also like to hear if you want more information on strokes gained. It's a great subject. So many of you could make some really good improvements if you analysed your swings in a more strokes gained way. Really interesting conversation with Dan. We did loads more off camera where he was really starting to click on what strokes gain means, and the thing that really made it for him actually, which, see if it helps you, think about it as each shot you hit you're going to pay or receive money. Okay, so for argument's sake, I'm playing against Matt. So every time we tee off our drives, if Matt's going to spray it in the trees, he's going to pay me a tenner. And then when he get up to there and he's hit it in the trees and I'm on the fairway, he's going to pay me another tenner, because I'm going to hit it on the green and he isn't. So he's just going to keep losing money to me as we go around. But then you go and get Matt hitting the ball really well for two, like he is at the minute. I have to pay him £5 because we're both on the fairway, but he's a bit further than me. Then he goes and dumps his wedge in the bunker and my approach is on the green. He's now going to give me a tenner. I'm £5 up. Then we have a putting competition, and if I'm putting slightly better, he's going to pay me £2 each putt. So at the end of the day, I'm paying him money because he gets strokes gained on longer distance. But if he then can't convert that through ability and what have you, then he's just going to give it back. Every shot you hit, you're going to be paying money, you're going to be accepting money from the field. The thing with Tiger and people like Rory, they're accepting a lot of money, and like Rory proved, he doesn't mind giving a few tenners away for putting because he's collecting loads tee to green. So if he's collecting £100 tee to green, but he's giving away £35 or £30 with his putting, he's 70 quid in pocket, isn't he? 70 quid in pocket is a good thing. See you all tomorrow.